Hello guys. This is your friend Itachi Fanfic 3.0 and we are back a new fanfic story which is, what if Arion never awakened his golden spirit and instead discovered a darker power hidden deep inside his meditative core? Part 1. Let's start fanfic without wasting more time. The Silent Awakening. In the forgotten mountains beyond every known map, where the sky rested low over winding cliffs, there lived a boy named Kaizen, a young warrior whose existence was a whisper even among the hermits who lived in silence. His golden hair, wild and radiant like shards of sunlight, had always set him apart. His eyes glowed with an intensity that never dulled, as if a mysterious fire lived inside him. But Kaizen was not born with this power. He was born empty. No chakra. No spiritual flow. No life force that monks believed every being carried in their hearts. Yet he lived. He breathed. He grew. And because of that impossibility, he was feared. The villagers in the closest settlement whispered legends about him. Some claimed he was a spirit disguised as a child, others believed he was a cursed container destined to break the world open someday. For years, they avoided him, leaving him to wander the mountains alone. But solitude had never frightened Kaizen. It had shaped him. At the age of 12, Kaizen left his village forever, choosing to live in the mountains where silence spoke more honestly than people ever could. There, he built a small hut from fallen cedar wood. He hunted for food. He trained his body until it no longer felt human. His muscles responded like coiled ropes, his movements silent as flowing water. Yet despite all his strength, he felt a hole inside him, a vast emptiness he could neither name nor fill. That emptiness changed the day he found the emerald pendant. He discovered it buried under ancient stone ruins, glowing faintly even after centuries. When he touched it, a sharp current rushed through his fingertips, up his arms, and directly into his heart. For the first time in his life, he felt something alive inside him, an energy unlike anything the monks had described. Not chakra. Not spiritual essence. Something older. Something raw. Something that didn't belong to any world humans knew. From that day, Kaizen meditated daily, sitting cross-legged before sunrise, the pendant against his chest. Each session pulled him deeper into the unknown realm inside him. He felt sensations. Flashes of heat, expanding light, the echo of voices too ancient to understand. And then, on the morning of the Red Dawn, everything changed. The first resonance. Kaizen sat on the cold stone platform outside his hut, his breathing steady, his hands resting on his knees, fingers aligned in a perfect circle. His body had grown powerful, but today it felt weightless, as if he floated between worlds. The pendant pulsed once, quietly but unmistakably, and suddenly the mountain air thickened around him. The wind stopped. Birds froze mid-flight. Leaves hung motionless in the air. Everything became perfectly still. Kaizen didn't move. He didn't open his eyes. He simply listened to the quiet hum inside him that grew louder each second. And then he heard a voice. Not from outside. From within. Finally, you have reached me. Kaizen's heart jolted, but he remained rooted in his posture. The voice continued, its tone ancient, layered with countless echoes. For years, you wandered empty. Not because you lacked power, but because you were never meant to hold the power of mortals. Kaizen felt his breath shake, but his body stayed locked in meditation. Who are you? He asked within the silence of his mind. I am the Golden Spirit, the last remnant of the celestial guardians who protected this world long before humans learned to speak. The pendant grew warm against his chest. Kaizen felt the warmth seep into his bones. Your body is the vessel created for me. Your emptiness was not a curse. It was preparation. Kaizen's eyes opened slowly. The world around him glowed faintly gold. His skin shimmered with a barely visible aura. Preparation. He whispered. Yes. The world is changing. A great shadow awakens. And you, Kaizen, are the one who must face it. Kaizen clenched his fists. Why me? I am only a wanderer. The spirit responded like a soft thunder. Because you are the only one born without limits. Dash dash dash. The world beyond silence. For the first time since childhood, Kaizen felt fear. Not because of danger, but because he finally understood he had a destiny far beyond the mountains. The spirit taught him each morning. Not through words, but through sensations, guiding the flow of golden energy inside him. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and Kaizen changed. He no longer felt human. His senses extended far beyond the physical. He could feel the heartbeat of trees, the warm breath of mountains, and the ancient sorrow in the wind. His eyes sharpened until he could see a falling leaf from a mile away. His body shifted from powerful to transcendent. Muscles hardened like forged steel yet moved with the softness of silk. But destiny does not wait forever. One night, as Kaizen meditated under a sky filled with silver stars, the ground trembled. A pulse, dark, cold, violent, shot through the earth. Kaizen felt it strike his spine like a spear. The golden spirit whispered one chilling sentence. They have awakened. Kaizen stood. Far in the distance, beyond the mountains, curve, a column of black smoke rose like a claw tearing open the sky. A cold wind rushed down toward him, carrying a faint scream, a scream filled with ancient power and hatred. Kaizen's jaw tightened. The world he had avoided his entire life was calling him. And this time, he couldn't ignore it. He stepped down from the stone platform. The pendant glowed fiercely. The golden energy inside him surged. The path of solitude had ended. The path of destiny had begun. The descent from the mountain. Kaizen packed nothing. He owned nothing. He needed nothing. Bare-chested, wearing only simple training shorts, he walked through the dense forest trail that stretched down the mountain. His steps were steady, but his thoughts were a storm. Was he truly chosen? Could he really face an ancient darkness? What if he wasn't strong enough? The golden spirit answered the question Kaizen hadn't spoken aloud. Strength is not something you seek. It is something you become. Hours passed as he descended. When he reached the valley below, Kaizen saw a sight he had never imagined. The nearby village, one he had visited only a handful of times as a teenager, lay in ruins. Houses burned. Ground cracked open. The air smelled of ash and fear. Kaizen stepped into the remains of the village. Silence dominated the space, yet the faint traces of dark energy twisted through the air like invisible smoke. Then, he heard a breath. Weak, shaking, barely alive. He sprinted toward the sound. Under a collapsed wooden cart lay a young girl, trembling, dirt covering her face. Kaizen lifted the cart effortlessly and pulled her into his arms. Her eyes fluttered open. When she saw his golden gaze, she didn't scream. She clung to him. They came, she whispered. Monsters made of shadows, looking for someone with golden eyes. Kaizen froze. They said you would return. They wanted to find you first. Kaizen felt the world narrow around him. The spirit whispered. And now, destiny has found you. The boy born empty. Long before Kaizen ever touched the emerald pendant, he had been a child born without the spiritual energy that every human received at birth. The monks called it life essence, the warriors called it battle chakra, and the villagers simply called it breath of the soul. But Kaizen had none. He grew, but it felt as if something essential was missing, like a lamp built without a flame. As he grew older, the people of his village began to whisper that he was touched by misfortune, a child who had escaped death only because fate was uncertain what to do with him. Mothers pulled their children away when he walked by, elders avoided meeting his intense eyes, and even the sky seemed dimmer when he stepped outside. Despite the unease around him, Kaizen's spirit was steady. He rarely spoke, rarely showed emotion, and rarely reacted to the cruel whispers. What hurt him most was not the fear of the villagers, but the loneliness of never truly being understood. He had no dreams, no power, no purpose, until the day he left the village forever. At 12, he climbed the forbidden mountains behind the settlement, mountains said to be inhabited by spirits too ancient for humans to name. But Kaizen walked without fear. Something in the mountains called to him, not with sound, but with a strange pull deep inside his chest. He followed that pull until he reached an abandoned ridge where the ruins of a forgotten temple lay scattered. And within those ruins, under slabs of weathered stone covered in moss, he found the emerald pendant, glowing faintly as if it had waited countless years for his touch. When he picked it up, something awakened inside him, a current that felt like the first breath of a newborn universe. That was the moment Kaizen's destiny began. Years of silent training. Kaizen built a hut in the mountains and lived alone. Days blended into weeks, weeks into years. His training was relentless, guided not by teachers or scrolls but by instinct and meditation. He shaped his body until every movement felt natural, every heartbeat powerful, every breath controlled. Even though he still lacked spiritual energy, the pendant radiated a soft glow whenever he meditated. He sensed it reaching into the empty space inside him, like a seed trying to grow in barren soil. Strange sensations came and went. Warmth, tingling, flashes of light that appeared behind his closed eyelids. He began to sense things no ordinary person could. The moods of the wind, the quiet warnings of stones before they fell, the distant vibration of storms long before clouds gathered. These were not powers he learned. They were abilities that awakened. But Kaizen still felt incomplete, as if something immense awaited him beyond the horizon of his mind. That changed on the morning of the Red Dawn. The awakening of the Golden Spirit. Kaizen sat on a stone platform carved by ancient monks, his legs crossed, his hands resting gently in a meditative seal. His breathing was deep and slow, so steady it seemed he had merged with the mountain itself. As the sun rose, its red light spread across the horizon like blood seeping into the sky. Then the pendant warmed. The air thickened. The world froze. Kaizen felt something stir inside him. Something older than the mountains, quieter than the moon, stronger than anything he had known. It began as a faint hum, like the vibration of distant thunder beneath the ground. Then it grew, filling his chest, spreading to his limbs, and echoing inside his skull. His vision turned golden. His heartbeat vanished into silence. And then he heard the voice. A voice not spoken by any living being, but emerging from the core of the pendant and the empty space in his soul. The Golden Spirit revealed itself, the last guardian of a celestial order that existed long before humans walked the earth. It told him he was not born empty by mistake. He was born empty because his body was meant to house a power too immense for ordinary humans. His emptiness was not a weakness, it was preparation. His entire life of solitude, confusion, and separation had been shaping him into a vessel capable of holding celestial energy. And now, the time had come. Kaizen opened his eyes. They glowed gold like twin stars. His body radiated a faint aura, not aggressive, but ancient and sovereign. For the first time in his life, he felt full, not of mortal energy, but of something cosmic. The spirit told him a shadow had awakened. And the world would soon need him. The dark pulse. For weeks after the awakening, Kaizen trained with guidance from the spirit. It was not training of the body, but training of the soul, or whatever equivalent Kaizen possessed. The spirit taught him how to listen to the pulse of the world, how to feel the movement of energy beneath the surface of life, how to sense danger approaching from far beyond the horizon. His strength grew beyond physical limits. He could remain motionless for an entire day without fatigue. His awareness stretched far enough to sense animals sleeping miles away. His mind sharpened until he could observe the mountain wind's shifting patterns before they changed. He no longer felt human. Then, one night as the stars shimmered like frozen fire, the mountains trembled. A dark pulse erupted from the far east, surging across the land like a wave of icy wind. It was heavy, violent, and filled with a hatred so ancient it almost pierced Kaizen's newly awakened soul. The spirit inside him whispered only one thing. That darkness is older than mankind. And it has finally begun to rise. Kaizen stood on the ridge and saw the distant sky glowing faintly black, as if eaten by a shadow that clawed its way upward. He knew what he must do. He began walking down the mountain. The destroyed village. Kaizen had not visited the valley village in years, not since before he discovered the pendant. As he descended through the forest, the air changed. The wind grew colder. The trees bent slightly, as if retreating from something unseen. Even the birds had vanished. When he reached the village, his heart tightened. The settlement was ruined. Houses were torn open. Fires smoldered in cracked buildings. The ground was ripped by enormous claw-like marks. Kaizen stepped among the remains, his face calm but his pulse heavy. He sensed the lingering presence of shadow energy, thick, oppressive, unnatural. It curled in the air like invisible tendrils, whispering of destruction and hunger. Then he heard a faint breath. He rushed toward the sound. Under a collapsed wooden frame lay a young girl, trembling and on the verge of losing consciousness. Her body was covered in dust and scratches, her small hands bruised from trying to dig herself out. Kaizen lifted the debris with ease and held her gently. Her eyes opened weakly, reflecting terror. She whispered that shadow-like creatures had attacked the village. They were not human, not animal, not spirit, something else entirely. They had been searching for someone. Someone with golden eyes. Kaizen understood. Destiny had found him sooner than he expected. The beginning of the path. Kaizen carried the girl to the only house still standing, where a few survivors hid in fear. They recoiled at the sight of him, but when he laid the girl gently before them, their fear softened into gratitude. He wanted to speak, to comfort them, but the golden energy inside him urged him onward. The spirit whispered that every moment he delayed gave the shadows time to grow stronger. Kaizen stepped out into the ruined village once more. The skies above were dim, though the sun still shone somewhere beyond the haze. The mountains behind him felt like a distant memory. His life of solitude had ended with a single dark pulse. Ahead of him lay a road stretching east, the path of rising darkness. Kaizen breathed deeply, feeling the golden energy expand through him. The world that had once rejected him now needed him more than ever. His true journey had begun. The first footsteps into a broken world. Kaizen left the ruined village behind, walking along the cracked path that once connected peaceful lives. His steps were silent, but the earth beneath him whispered fragments of what had happened. The soil felt wounded. The air carried the weight of fear. The energy around him trembled as if the world itself shivered. The golden spirit within him watched the landscape through Kaizen's senses. Its presence was calm, ancient, patient, and yet Kaizen felt a trace of concern within its tone, a rarity for a celestial entity. What had awakened was not a simple threat. It was something the spirit had feared for ages. Kaizen followed the path east, where the dark pulse had originated. The sun above shone weakly through a thin gray veil, dimming the world with a strange emptiness. Even the green of the leaves looked pale. Rivers ran quieter, as if their voices had been taken away. Hours passed. The forest ended. The plains stretched wide. Yet nothing moved. No animals. No insects. Only stillness. Kaizen's golden eyes scanned the horizon, and he felt it again, faint threads of shadow lingering at the edge of perception. They drifted like dying embers, but each thread pulsed with the echo of something alive, something searching, something hungry. The spirit spoke inside him, its voice low. There is no turning back now. Kaizen never planned to turn back. The moment he saw the ruined village, destiny became a path he could no longer avoid. The echoes of the fallen. As night approached, the sky turned a deep violet. Kaizen stopped at the remains of an ancient outpost, stone pillars broken by time, overgrown with crawling vines. It was quiet here, quieter than anywhere else. The silence was so complete it felt unnatural, as if sound itself had been swallowed. Kaizen touched one of the pillars. Instantly, his mind was filled with a rush of memories, not his, but those of the land. He saw flashes. People once living here, tending to fields, raising children, lighting lanterns at dusk. Then, darkness swept over them like a living wave, extinguishing their existence as effortlessly as wind snuffing out a flame. Kaizen's hands tightened. The spirit murmured with grave clarity. What you saw were the first places to fall. Kaizen exhaled slowly. He had felt sorrow before, but never like this, sorrow woven into the soil itself. He knelt and placed a hand on the ground, letting the golden energy flow gently outward. The land shivered, as if grateful. He did not speak. Words were unnecessary. His resolve hardened. The scent of shadow. Before dawn, Kaizen awakened from meditation with a sudden jolt. Something had changed in the air. The cold was sharper, the wind heavier, and the sky grew darker long before sunrise. Kaizen rose from the stone where he had sat. His golden eyes narrowed as he sensed multiple presences approaching. Faint, dissonant, unnatural, and yet unmistakably alive. Shadow remnants. Creatures born from the darkness that had attacked the village. Kaizen stood still, letting the energy inside him circulate through every vein. The spirit urged him to remain calm, reminding him that fear fed the shadows, and steady resolve weakened them. Kaizen walked forward, following the scent of corrupted energy until he reached the edge of a forest whose trees bent unnaturally, as though bowing to something hidden deeper within. He entered without hesitation. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Mist clung to the ground despite no river nearby. The branches overhead curled inward, their leaves darkened by shadow residue. Then Kaizen saw the first sign. A tear in the earth, narrow and long, as if a blade made of darkness had carved through the land itself. He crouched, touched the edge, and the moment he did, a flicker of memory shot through him, but this time, not from the land. From the creature itself. A distorted consciousness, broken and ancient, filled with hatred for the light. Kaizen inhaled sharply. This creature was unlike anything humans had known. It came from a realm without form, without light, without time, a realm where even spirits refused to step. The spirit spoke with grave warning. The shadows do not exist naturally. They were created. Kaizen froze. Created? By whom? But the spirit fell into silence, refusing to answer. Its silence carried weight. Weight that told Kaizen the answer was too dangerous to reveal now. The shadow trackers. Hours later, as Kaizen walked deeper into the dense, twisted forest, he felt them. 3 presences. Moving silently. Following him. Not human. Not beast. Shadows given shape. Their movement was unnaturally smooth, like darkness sliding across glass. Kaizen didn't turn. He allowed them to come closer, keeping his breathing steady. The spirit whispered guidance, reminding him that his greatest strength was not force, but clarity. Still, he remained motionless until the creatures finally revealed themselves. They emerged from the mist, 3 figures made of shifting darkness. Their bodies were thin, elongated, their limbs stretching unnaturally. Their faces were hollow, eyeless, yet they stared at him as if seeing every inch of his soul. Kaizen's heartbeat did not change. The creatures circled him with silent hunger, drifting like smoke. Their presence was cold enough to freeze breath, their aura poisonous to the earth beneath them. Kaizen allowed them to approach, waiting until the right moment. And then a golden pulse exploded from his core. The forest illuminated like lightning trapped in slow motion. The shadows recoiled, their bodies flickering violently, fragments of darkness peeling off them like burning ash. But they did not die. They regenerated instantly. Kaizen understood. These were scouts. Their purpose was not to kill. Their purpose was to test, observe, analyze. To study him. Kaizen's instincts sharpened. If he destroyed them recklessly, the deeper darkness would sense it. If he let them escape, the darkness would still learn. So Kaizen chose a third option. He stepped forward with absolute calm. Golden energy flowed through him, but not outward. He contained it, compressing it within himself. It was not an attack. It was a command. A message. The creatures trembled. The forest trembled. Even the air trembled. Kaizen's presence alone forced the shadows to retreat. They flickered, wavered, and then dissolved into the mist like fear fleeing the dawn. He had not fought. He had not attacked. He had simply existed. And his existence alone drove them away. The spirit spoke, impressed, though still troubled. Your path grows darker from here. Kaizen continued deeper into the forest. The city of lost light. Beyond the forest lay a valley. Once, it housed a thriving trading city named Rinaval, a place Kaizen had visited long ago as a child. He remembered merchants yelling joyfully, children laughing, lanterns glowing at night. But now, when he stepped into the valley, he saw only ruins. The massive stone gates lay shattered. Houses were hollow skeletons. The city square was cracked open. No sound. No movement. A city without life. Kaizen walked slowly, feeling the weight of 1,000 memories embedded in the stones. The spirit murmured a somber truth. This city didn't fall in battle. It fell in fear. The shadows consume the spirit before they consume the body. Kaizen walked deeper until he reached the center of the ruined city, where a massive circular mark scarred the earth. The mark radiated cold energy, the same energy that had shaken the mountains the night the shadows awakened. Kaizen knelt and touched the center of the scar with 2 fingers. Instantly, vision surged into him. A massive shadow descending on the city. People collapsing without ever being touched. The sky darkening as something enormous hovered above. A whisper of a name. Incomplete. Ancient. Kaizen braced himself, the golden aura flickering violently around his body. The spirit inside him whispered in a shaken voice, the first time Kaizen had ever felt fear in it. The darkness is not merely rising. It is seeking something. Someone. You. Kaizen stood slowly, gazing at the broken city around him. The world was collapsing in silence. Piece by piece. Life by life. And the darkness was hunting the golden vessel. Hunting him.